I'm back! Did you miss this series? Yeah, I know I missed uploading haters guides for the MLS Cup last year, the season opener. I was focused on other things, much like what any Eurosnob says when asked about watching the league. Plus, I wasn't even sure if I was going to make another one of these in the first place since they don't really get that much views anyway. But screw it. Why not? That being said, there's no better time than the playoffs to reconnect with this fun but wonky league. The playoff stage from last year remains, for better or for worse. A reminder for those that forgot, we opened with a wildcard knockout game, followed by a best-of-3 series in the conference quarterfinals, and then single elimination all the way to MLS Cup. Confusing? Maybe, but that's the name of the game for MLS. Enough chit-chat. Here are the contestants for this year's gauntlet. Welcome back to the postseason, Portland. I know it looks a little different than years past, but the goal remains the same all the way. It's been a frustrating couple of seasons with, the playoff misses, the skits of mediocrity, the jersey sponsorship botch, the controversy on the Thorn side of business, but you made it. Come hell or really high water. Phil Neville may have been a reach, but it worked for you. Plus, with star players like Evander and Jonathan Rodriguez, there's a lot of what ifs with this team to see if they're for sure bringing a cup back to Providence Park. We shall see in time. Wait a second, how did you guys get hosting duties for the wildcard round? You're the 9th seed. Who the hell are you guys playing? Oh. Last year's Red Ball performance must have had an effect on Vancouver. The Whitecaps seemingly lost themselves in the rage and almost squandered their playoff spot. Ryan Gauld and Brian White continued to carry the club as they still nabbed the 8th seed. If only they didn't let the rage blind them. It's a pity spot, but if they can take care of Portland, they can get their revenge on LAFC in the next round. It's something for their efforts, I guess. At least they'll be able to host the wildcard game. Huh? It says here that BC Place is unavailable due to a Supercross event. Isn't that just peak MLS? Losing a playoff game due to a motorcycle event. How the hell did you guys come back from the dead? Just last year, your team was at rock bottom in the standings. Protests and urges for Stan Kroenke to sell the team from vocal supporters, and somehow they slingshotted themselves back to the postseason for the first time in 3 grueling seasons. Chris Armas led this team to a revival year as their golden geese like Moise Bombito and Jordan Mihailovic bear sweet fruit, Bombito being sold to League One Nice as part of their re-emergence. This is probably the most conflicting time to be a Rapids fan. Yes, a chance at MLS Cup is what you might dream of, but this also means Stan Kroenke stays put for now. Opium is a hell of a drug. Looks like Minnesota United sent some form of hope returning to the Twin Cities in hopes that they can break off a piece of that. Emmanuel Reynoso had too many headaches. Send his ass south of the border. Literally. Minnesota don't need him anymore. They made it to the playoffs with the backs of Robin Lode, Tani Oluwasei, and, oh god, I'm gonna butcher this one, Bongokule Hlongwane. Please don't kill me. Eric Ramsey seemingly has the motivation to bring this team closer to MLS Cup. The only thing to worry about is your new designated player. Joaquin Pereira is still young and he'll get it going, but dedicating a 3-year contract for an unproven midfielder is usually not a good idea. Maybe I could be wrong and he goes on a tear. It's all a wait-and-see game from here. Last year's revival season was magical for Houston fans. How will the Dynamo follow up? 2 steps back, I see. The season started frustrating for Houston, losing core pieces in the transfer window and getting peanuts in return. Players dropping like flies or going missing altogether. Losing Achi Achi to injury to start the season, and losing Achi Achi to injury to end it. Despite the slow start and embarrassing exit to all cup runs, the Dynamo made it back to the playoffs. Somehow. Benny Ball is looking for an encore performance, but to ensure that they maintain their deep cup run narrative, they'll have to do something they have yet to do in over a decade. Win an away game at Lumen Field. Luckily, with the returning Hector Herrera, Coco Carrasquilla, and the newly acquired Ezequiel Ponce, they're ready for another push. As well as the German wunderkind Lawrence Anali.
Unit lost.
God fucking damn it, can't you let me have one fucking good moment as a Dynamo fan? What the fuck? It appears that I've miscalculated Seattle's falling off the rails. They seem to be alive and well. The Sounders entered the playoffs rejuvenated and ready for another star in their newly minted quest. Jordan Morris, Albert Rusnak, and Raul Diaz had the main goal contribution for Seattle. There seems to be no weaknesses. The only weakness I can think of is losing young Obed Vargas due to a red card suspension on decision day. On paper, they seem to be a strong team to go far. Any team that enters their literal turf should be made into ground meat. 50 years of soccer history culminates to this. Don't stumble out of the starting gate, will ya? RSL got punched in the mouth last year, but they made it back and got a higher team than the team that tormented you last season. America First Field is brimming with hope as goal warriors like Christian Arango and Andres Gomez ooze potential for another trophy to come to the mountains. If they can somehow avoid the bad orange team, they should be fine. Lucky for them, they won on decision day and Seattle drew, which means they'll avoid the Dynamo for now. You better hope they get bounced early, because if you see them again, they might knock your butts out of another cup competition. Yet again. Of course, we had to let the other LA team back in the postseason party. Another sudden revival, and this one is probably the biggest jump yet. Toiling away at the bottom of the West, Greg Vanney's job was ready to roast at an open fire. In comes the reinforcements, Joseph Painstill, Gabriel Peck, and the ever-present Ricky Puig to bring the Galaxy back from the dead. And they seem legit as they've carried the number one seed in the West all year. It wasn't easy with LAFC hot on their trail, but there was no way they were going to lose their spot, especially not to Chivas USA 2.0. Shine against Houston on decision day. If this result holds, the West runs through Carson.
Dorsey.
Great ball.
That
A heartbreaker in the 100th minute. This loss knocks the Galaxy off the top of the West. Taking its place in the 11th hour, oh boy. Talk about a fall of the norm for LAFC. Yes, they indeed got another top seed in the West, but something feels off about this year's squad. They're just not as dominating as they used to be. The team down in Carson woke up and took their thunder back before an orange Houston team came around and knocked them off the top of the West. Oh, you think this isn't a big deal? Here's a fun fact. Ever since their MLS Cup win 2 years ago, LAFC made it to 4 cup finals. How many trophies did they win? 1. Just 1. They'll have to rely on the brick wall that is Hugo Lloris at goal and Denny Buwanga carrying the team to a 5th cup final. And then there's a journeyman Kai Kamara still searching for his first MLS Cup. You're surely not going to blow this chance, right? It was another down year for Atlanta as they've almost missed the postseason entirely. Their chances almost ended in smoke as they lose key cornerstones like Giorgio Giacomakis and Thiago Almada to international waters. They had to rely on a lot of unknown commodities to cobble together enough strength to knock Philadelphia and DC out of playoff contention.
And through it all, Atlanta almost got themselves knocked out of the playoffs entirely. You better think your lucky stars that goal at the death was called handball. Drama on decision day. Gotta love it.
And just like they did on their final push, they're going to have to rely on a lot of their younger players to have a shot of gaining a home game in the best-of-3 series. Death by Montreal's hands or death by Messi's hands? Decisions. What is it with MLS teams having sudden revivals of form? Another team is the team formerly known as the Impact. After last year's embarrassing display, Joey Saputo seemingly decided to give a shit and put something resembling a soccer team. Taking Columbus' second team coach in Laurent Courtois seemed like a panic hire, but it seemingly paid off. Joseph Martinez hasn't been the same player since leaving Atlanta, but his 13 goal contributions seemed enough to push them to the postseason. This will be a challenge for Montreal, especially with the Sharks lurking in the East. If they can somehow put Atlanta away, Miami awaits them in the best-of-3. They're going to need a miracle if they want to go far. Bonne chance, Montreal. The longest postseason streak in all of sports continues with earnest. The Red Bulls enter the postseason on the backs of top scorer Lewis Morgan and designated players Emil Forsberg and Dante Vanzier. Hopefully this time Vanzier can keep the slurs to himself. The pressure of being the only men's professional team in New York without a championship is rearing its ugly head. A certain team in the land of baseball stadiums continues to hold the city's lone MLS Cup. The question continues to ponder if they're able to flip New York red by November. Don't make this a political bloodbath in the comments, will ya? The boys in blue are back in the playoffs after missing wide right the previous year. There was a lot of questions to ask for this team as they seemingly lost their way. Santiago Rodriguez and Alonso Martinez carries this team with 31 combined goal contributions. Their efforts have been rewarded with a spot in the playoffs. A team that wasn't even supposed to even make the postseason are entering rejuvenated and ready for war. There is one teeny tiny issue that they'll have to figure out. Their home turf is currently occupied. As of recording, both the Yankees and Mets are still playing playoff baseball. That means that Yankee Stadium and Citi Field are both unavailable for the start of the playoffs. 2027 and Willets Point can't come soon enough. Panthers fans need a distraction from the failure of a season they're currently suffering through. At least one guaranteed playoff game will be played at Bank of America. Dean Smith has done decently after replacing Christian Latanzio as head coach. However, they don't have a clear star in the Charlotte FC locker room. Only Patrick Agyemang seems to be the top player here. Will it be enough to beat Orlando? Or to distract Charlotte fans from the piss-stained NFL team that they have to share stadiums with? Can David Tepper keep his temper tantrums in check here? My money says no on all questions, but hey, I could be wrong here. Another year, another postseason ticket punched. The Lions are celebrating their 10th MLS season, their most challenging one yet. Facundo Torres, Martin Ojeda, and Duncan McGuire continue to add to what has been a season of retribution for Orlando. A lot of soccer pundits were ready to write off Orlando, and for good reason. They did not look like the same team from last year. But we have a little saying in these parts. It doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. And Orlando finished hot. Hoping to get an edge to bring home the MLS Cup to Florida before a certain pink team in Fort Lauderdale does. That alone should be motivation to go for a deep push. Another motivator is to help rally the state of Florida from the hurricanes. Go lift their spirits up, will ya? Cincinnati continues to play second fiddle to a certain black and yellow team across the state. Taking a slight step back after last year's playoff embarrassment, TQL is ready to rock again. Lucho Acosta and Luca Orellana will carry this team to another shot at a championship. Matt Miazga will be sidelined with a PCL tear, so that means no storming the referee's locker room this time. I hope. The hill gets a bit steeper this time, but they've got the experience and the firepower to go on another deep run. It's up to them to right their wrongs and etch a star in the top of their crest. If you fail again, especially to a certain state rival, hell will indeed be real for you. Columbus's return to the playoffs marks another milestone since the club was freed from their threat of relocation. Another chance to add to their trophy case, especially after just adding a League's Cup title recently. Cucho Hernandez needs no introduction, but Diego Rossi and Christian Ramirez do, both having revival campaigns since their arrivals with the crew, with Rossi having an all-star nod alongside Cucho. With supporting stars like Steven Morea and Captain Darlington Nagbe, the crew, guided by small markets, relocated souls past and future, and the spirit of Johnny Gaudreau, are ready to defend their crown, hoping to be the first repeat champions in over a decade. Good luck, lads. And of course, saving the best for last, Inter Miami. It wasn't a surprise that they make the playoffs. What was a surprise was how they clinched the postseason. After going on an exposure tour around the world in January, people expected them to be exhausted to start the campaign. They keep winning. The Copa America tournament pulled some players for international duty, including Messi himself. Surely they'll struggle short-handed. They keep winning. But Messi got injured at the Copa America final. Surely this will set the team back. They keep winning. But schedule exhaustion will get to them. There's no way they'll keep the form. With their decision day win over New England, it clinched them not only the Supporters' Shield, a spot at the Club World Cup, somehow, but it also clinched the points record at 74 points. Safe to say it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that Inter Miami is a favorite to win it all. And as much as people will hate it, it's a fact of life. Anything is possible. As long as you have Messi on your team, that is. However, they may not be invincible. The only people that can probably stop this team from claiming their third trophy in 2 years is themselves. Will Messi claim his 47th trophy in his career? Or will all the doubters, especially Ronaldo fans, laugh at their failure? This is where legends are made, Miami. The choice is yours. The stage is set. The competition is ready. 18 teams enter. Only one leaves with a cup. Who will we see in the finals? Let's save the melodramatic rigmarole. It's very obvious the league rigged this matchup and the possible winner. This year's MLS final will be the David Beckham Bowl. The team he made famous for playing for versus the team he made famous for acquiring star players. The Los Angeles Galaxy versus Inter Miami. The glitz and glam of Hollywood versus the sunny skies of South Beach. The most storied club in MLS history versus the most storied player in soccer history. I can already hear the money being poured in as the matchup nears. God bless this fucked up league.